Hey guys, the podcast will always be free. If you go into the description or the top comment, there's a locals, a Patreon, a buy me a coffee, a Cash App, a PayPal. Legitimately, $1 a month makes the world of a difference. And I know you're thinking, no, it doesn't. It literally does. It keeps the show going. It's why it's so free flowing and hectic and frankly unprofessional and vulgar, but it's the reason why it's free and why it's fun. Please, if you can, donate $1. Thank you. Yeah,
All right, I need you to do the fucked up countdown again for the recording now.
I just fuck you. Friday, January 30th, 2026, 11:02 a.m. Eastern Time with Don the Pleb, and of course, Stoli, and Don is still in my basement, and we haven't done one of these, and I'm still the last episode we did about John McAfee. The reason I
Man,
haven't uploaded it still years later is because I think there's like a statute of limitations thing of things we were
We're
saying.
waiting on it.
No, but I think some things were said that don't have a statute of limitations. And I don't.
That
Don and
might be
I can't.
true.
Don and
That
I
might be
can't.
true.
you might want to get some chlorine trifluoride and just really burn that shit. Like burn the ashes after it's done burning kind of thing.
Yeah,
You might
there's a
want to do
reason
that.
that's the only one I've never uploaded. And I,
That's perfect. That's awesome. Of all the crazy shit that has happened on this show, Stoli and I
the
are the
John
ones that you
McAfee.
can't upload.
Yeah, because all the other ones have like it's like guidelines on YouTube or Twitter. I don't even want to like talk about the what this one because I think that itself might be incriminating.
I remember one time we were talking about how I would handle Iran, and I remember getting a message from you later going, I'm sorry, but we had to cut out the part with what you want to do with Obama before you deal with the mullahs. And that was one of my favorites personally, if we want to talk about cut content.
Yeah, but even that is we're talking about it, right? We're still mentioning like what it was. The lost episode is again, I don't know what is incriminating. I actually don't, and I'm just gonna err on the side of caution because I don't. I think I think that could fuck us to the day we die.
Listen, putting Kerman Congo hemorrhagic fever on a tick and then the ticks on a migratory bird, like that's just these are that
Look,
no,
if the
let's just not
CIA
talk
has
about it. Let's
already
not talk
done
about
it,
it.
how bad could it be?
Technically, it's an offense threat reduction agency.
What the tick or what we talked about? I don't. I've perhaps drawn too much attention to this anyway. Um,
Moving along quickly,
moving
though,
along.
before we do, I think everyone here now has been visited by the FBI. So I hope we all enjoy round two of that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I wish I only managed to get FDLE to knock on my door, and they're just like, I know we're on the same side of things, but can you just tone down the rhetoric a little bit?
No, it still needs its FBI badge. Yeah, no, it's I'm not looking forward to round two, which is why I'm being very very cautious. I was thinking this morning though, it's just and I know it's not exactly it's like breaking news: the aircraft carrier strike group outside of Iran went dark, which means an attack is imminent. And it's like, yeah, but if everyone knows an attack's imminent, then that's maybe not what it is. If it's like you have to say if they ask you, you're an undercover cop, and they ask you if you're a cop, you have to say yes. Like, yeah, I don't think that's how it works. I was
It's in
thinking
the
though,
Constitution, bro.
yeah, well, you have to say. I was thinking though, obviously the buildup outside Venezuela, and then it all. But even that, there were several days of everything going dark and coming back on, transponders, blah blah blah. And then it led to, of course, just a random tweet from Trump, and it's like, "Hey, Maduro's on the USS Iwo Jima." If Trump, who runs Iran? Is it Ayatollah? Who
Uh,
technically is at the head of Iran?
Either the Ayatollah or the British, depending on who you ask.
yeah, well, if we're asking Stoli, it's definitely the British. So
If Trump kidnaps the president of Iran, if he goes two for two, I think it'll go down as the greatest ever. I don't care what the long term value of any of this shit is. If Trump kidnaps a second world leader, I don't think that will ever be topped.
Regardless of the strategic value of that, I mean, you'd have to hand it to Delta. That's like two Super Bowl rings and like a fucking, right?
Well, that's what I
in
mean.
what, like a month, right?
That's what I mean. If he fucking runs up the score, like crazy to get Maduro, right? And then you have all those reports of being like they're goddamn ninjas, and there was like they said that so some of them were saying like he was like they didn't even know how many of the drones were real because like the drones were like blacking out the sky, but like the radar didn't show that much. And then of course they're using like the sonic weapons and making all these guys bleed out of their ears and eyes. If Trump does that again and just kidnaps another president, I mean, I don't care what the strategic value is. That will
I'm
never be done.
starting
You're
a
right.
collection. It's going to be the best collection.
I'm gonna look. I'm gonna look.
Oh man, how great would that be if he just, makes carbonite statues of them and just starts putting them behind the
We're
resident,
putting them in the crystal.
right?
Who's the head of Iran right now?
I mean, I'm excited for it. Like at the end of the day, I'm still kind of infuriated because like it was what like 2009 and we were getting ready to roll over the regime in Iran back then. Everyone talks about the pallets of cash thing. That's like a known thing. But the only person I've ever heard other than myself just natively bring up the fact that we handed over the entire resistance network that was going to be the regime change operation to the mullahs was an Israeli commando dude that works regularly with India. That's the only dude I've ever heard say, yeah, like the British, the Obamas, they all handed the entire, we were ready to do the whole thing in Iran. They just handed the whole thing over and the pallets of cash. But, that is the truth of it. Like, it wasn't just the pallets of cash. There was an entire resistance network. It was the forerunner to the Arab Spring. And if you remember exactly how it went down, it was the death of Michael Jackson. I'm not even fucking making this up. It was all Iran 24/7. And then Michael Jackson dies. And you just see this white van rolling down the highway with the big chyron, Michael Jackson, critical condition or whatever. And then it was total geopolitical media blackout. All mainstream media just became the Michael Jackson Memorial Channel until that whole shit just was just, water under the bridge.
Do you think they're not connected, the two shootings in Minneapolis to, you know, and I think no group other than this trio has shit on the idea of 5D chess more than us because it never pans out. Sorry guys, it never pans out. Um, but do you think that's not unlinked? Is moving around shit, in between then and now is Davos, and then you have, two retards fucking liquidated in Minneapolis. That does it. It's not related in terms of taking the media spotlight off of like it was pretty heavy on the news daily about like we're going into Venezuela, like Rand Paul crying or something, and then as we're doing, it's seemingly doing it again. Like there's an aircraft carrier strike group like right off of Iran now, and now all you see is these two retards getting shot in Minneapolis.
So here's the problem is that everything is a distraction from everything at this point. And
Yeah,
so
and it doesn't have to be planned. It's just
right.
natural. It's yeah,
And that's the issue, right? Is that we're so damned retarded at this point. We do something stupid globally about once every 6 minutes.
yeah.
And so the question is really just where do you focus the media lens? That's really all that's required. And I mean, in the world of what is Minneapolis shootings a distraction from, the most direct and obvious correlation that I see is, oh, hey, we found like $100 billion worth of fraud that's pretty provable, which probably means there's a couple trillion. Oh, look, two retards got smoked. Well, I guess let's talk about two retards getting smoked instead of the Leering Center.
Do you do you think that kid really? Do you think he broke the story, or do you think that was kind of like a Nixonian deep throat type thing? And now I understand that these are wildly different in terms of severity and kind of iconotry. It's the president versus the
I
president
think anyone could have walked into those businesses and cracked that story anytime they wanted. He
just
was
waiting
just
to
a guy that
happen.
walked in and did it.
That's
Well,
almost more sad that it was.
that's the problem, right? Because here here's the real problem with how social media news works, right? Because social media is happy to tell you like we're the only news, the mainstream news is fake, and that's true, right? On and off, I have heard about fraud in any number of these things. I don't know since I was 20. I'm 40. Well, I'm over 40, but still, these things have been going on a long time, and most of it is just everybody knows, but nobody says, and so all the times that anybody I've ever watched talk about this, some 200 subscriber channel that's like, yeah, so, I went to do whatever local thing in minority owned business district, and like they don't actually do the thing, right? Hundreds and hundreds of times, doesn't matter. You need a Nick Shirley who is big enough that somebody will retweet them, that somebody will post their video on Instagram or something. You need someone who is big enough before it can be the news. And these things, they hang around what are the conspiracy theory section of the internet for a decade. And then one guy breaks it brand new, right? And gets all the credit for it. And that's just how it goes. Um, having ever been the guy that nobody was watching, that broke a story, sort of, that, then somebody else went on Joe Rogan and was like, hey, would you believe this is true? Only for me to check Twitter later and be like, hey, finally, someone's talking about this, and go, oh, he follows me. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, it's like you and Alex Jones are like the two guys you can hold up and be like, yeah, I've seen this shit before.
Right. And so, this is part of the problem that everybody has when you see some like, oh, but people should have known about this. Like, well, people did, right? And it's the thing that has stopped me from believing all of the, oh, if a conspiracy that big existed, somebody would have talked. Like, bitch, somebody did talk, right? And you called them a conspiracy theorist, you called them a liar, you said that it was all fake, right? And so, you can go find guys still to this day who have 5-year-old channels with 100 subscribers who are like, so this daycare, this whatever. The benefit of the Nick Shirleys having gotten this out is that now a bunch of those guys who were talking about something other than the daycares are starting to get attention. The all of the fraud in California, which is just an unfathomable amount. And when I say that, I mean no matter how much you think it is, square that number, and you might be getting close. It finally, some of those people, because somebody crossed my Twitter feed the other day that was like, oh, hey, this I don't know, Arizona or something district has, or actually it might have been Southern California, this little district has 25 businesses owned by some foreign national group, all of them. No one's ever in any of these stores, no one's ever doing anything. And I was like, yeah, well, and you go check his profile, and he's been talking about this for 4 years, right? But until everyone is fixated on fraud, no one cares, right? Like, well, like how big of a deal could this possibly be? And then Shirley breaks like, oh yeah, this is probably billions of dollars worth of fraud, and all of a sudden, fraud's in the news, right? And so you get to find out about all the fraud that everyone's been talking about for the past decade, but no one was listening.
Yeah, it does kind of seem more like a perfect storm of hatred, and then as it builds, and then as it gets more and more emboldened by the fact that people have been talking about it, no one ever did anything. I would imagine if you're a Somali, you'd start to be like, we don't even have to put up like the safeguards, we don't even have to cover our tracks, like we can just do anything. And then it hits a point of like, there's 19 daycares and one office building, and none of them are there. And it's just some fucking retard with no bottom teeth telling you to get out. Like it seems like, and then it, for whatever reason, it hits a point of now all of a sudden it's unpalatable.
Well, so it always would have been unpalatable if anybody was paying attention.
Yeah.
Right. And this is how, pretty unironically, this is how you get Stoli. Right. I don't know how many times Stoli and I have talked, and it's been, hey, Don, this thing we've been talking about for 6 years, somebody finally paid attention. Right. They someone just dropped a thing that said the Republicans are secretly talking about repealing the 17th Amendment. And like 10 people showed up under me reposting that and went, I've been talking about this for years. This is a great idea. We should totally do this. And I was like, and all of them signed this off with, and I was first. I'm like, yeah, well, my guy, there were people when it got ratified that were talking about this is a bad idea. I think they're first.
Right. Yeah, it is a bit of a culture. But and that's also the other thing is this is just one little ethnic mafia too that we're looking at right here. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
it's a lot easier to nail them too because they all look like they're inbred fucking space aliens. So,
Only
it's
because they are.
easier.
Only
Yeah,
because
yeah,
they are.
it's easier to, inquisit, Minnesota Mogadishu than some of the others. But that is opening up. I mean, like you want to talk about all the other stuff. It's like, man, we've been dealing with the double-edged sword that is India now for God knows how long. And after being able to use the edge of that sword that was kind of on our side to kind of put pressure on the Biden admin, now we got to deal with the other end of that. And man, do they have some mafias and some networks set up, and man, that's gonna be ugly. That's gonna be real ugly when we break that open.
Well, that's probably not going to happen, right? I used to talk about when I lived in California. I lived in a neighborhood run by the Russian mob, and I did that marginally because it was cheap. But there's lots of cheap neighborhoods to live in. But if you live in the one run by the Russian mob, they don't tolerate petty shit crime, right? There is no let's go smash in the windows at 7-Eleven because the Russian mob will beat you to death and leave you on the side of the street. And they do not care, right? Every building within, I don't know, a mile of my house that was a business was Russian named. And 6 blocks from me, someone's getting stabbed, I don't know, every month, right? And it's hitting the news, right? Um, but if you're under the right mob, nothing happens, right? Because everybody knows you don't go to the Russian mob neighborhood when you live in the ghetto.
That sounds like a sales pitch. No part of that. And I'm not even trying to be funny. Like, yeah, no, that's why wouldn't you have that? Why wouldn't you allow that?
Just because we're criminals doesn't mean, we don't want to raise our children. That's the Russian mafia mindset there. Like, you want to talk about what was the song? Russians love their kids too. There's some rules. You can be a criminal and be a Russian, but there's going to be some rules.
You know, T Tim Dillon had a great point. He's like, I'm not saying MS-13 are teddy bears, but as far as mobs go, they're not taking your money and sending it to Ukraine. They offer a product
Yeah.
that you choose to buy or not. Do you want the fucking human traffic? Do you want the fentanyl? They're not taking your hard-earned paycheck and sending it across the world to an unwinnable war. And that's but then I think but if they could, they would. If they got to,
Only if there was money in it for them,
well,
right?
that's what I mean is it's the
And to be fair, I mean they kind of are. Looking at all those pictures that we got of American hardware in South America, right? All
yeah.
the AT4s, all the the javelins, all that kind of stuff that started showing up down below the southern border
Yeah,
somewhere.
well, Ukraine is there, yeah.
I
Don't get me
just want to
wrong,
know
they're
how,
not
how
sending it to the war. They're sending it to the guys who are stealing from the war. But still,
Yeah, I just need to find these guys because I found out yesterday. I thought this was only for like the GP30 and the Russian grenade launchers, but Arsenal makes a thermobaric round in 40 millimeter for NATO grenade launchers. I don't know how I'm going to get a NATO grenade launcher or these rounds, but this is now my bucket list thing. I need one of those.
I will answer you off the air.
The Lost episode part two.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
Lost episode part
it's
two.
like, God damn it. It's to tie it back though, and I have to unplug just so I don't fucking lose my I found that just as like a control group every once in a while, in like the last like couple weeks, I'll just take a day off Twitter. And I used to always gauge it as like, how do I, how does my mind change? How does my mood change? How does anything change? And I used to be like, oh, I'm less stressed. And other times would be like, yeah, but I want to know what's going on. I found something kind of unique in the last two times I've done it. And it's actually completely neutral. You can apply good or bad value to it. It's that my attention span and my short-term memory get better.
Yeah.
I mean that like markedly. Like the next day, markedly better. So I say that to say I'm trying to unplug more from it. But in this, I feel like it's maybe a little more up your alley, Don. For retards like me, why didn't Trump crush Minneapolis? I understand you can't throw things around. I understand you can't throw the Insurrection Act around like a mean tweet. But why wouldn't? Especially now. It's not first term Trump. It's stole the election, raided his house, tried to blow his head off, blah, blah, blah. And if he's willing to show that he has balls and do things like Maduro, why wouldn't they go? I'm asking you this because I know that you're not going to give me a 5D chess answer. Anyone else would be like, well, it's actually because the Chinese fuck off. Like, why didn't
So
he just steamroll it?
there's a couple of decent theories. One, or at least work theories that are not 5D chess. One is that he is going to steamroll Minneapolis a bit at a time, right? And this sounds a little 5D chessy, but if you've paid attention to law enforcement for any period of time, and I have, then you know that, for example, Don Lemon got arrested this morning,
Yeah, no, that's
right?
fantastic.
And so there is, and don't get me wrong, I hate this because it sounds so much like trust the plan, but if you want indictments to stick, if you want a RICO case, right? Like everybody looks at RICO and they go, oh, but in the 70s we indicted the mob. Like, yeah, but a lot of those cases took like 20 years to make, right?
Yeah.
So if we're actually rolling out charges in what's it been, 10 days, right? Something like that. Um, since Lemon walked into that church, then I'm a little this much more inclined to trust the plan.
So, seeing
Uh,
as we opened the door for trusting the plan, are we going to talk about the Milky's photo of just creeping into the shop with the hat and the
we'll
phone?
we'll get
What?
there, right?
What?
Because that's of relevance.
Hold on, let Don
Uh,
keep going. I don't even know what Stoli's talking about. Oh, I'm done. You
oh
keep
man,
going.
he's like I'm almost about to quit calling her Milky's at this point. Um, okay, so either we're waiting on indictments, right? Or there is the um, well, everybody and their brother calls it corruption, and probably rightly so. The tit for tat game that is Trump or Homan or whomever called up, Minneapolis Waltz and said, "Hey, here's the deal: you're not going to prison, and we're going to come take these people. That's the trade, whether you like it or not." Now, you might not like that, but that Hillary Clinton is still alive and walking the earth tells you that it does in fact work this way.
Of course.
So
Why wouldn't it?
there is a non-zero specifically because Waltz came out like the day after that meeting and went, "I'm never running for office again," right? So there's serious indicators that that game is going on. Um, I think the most likely backdrop to all of this, regardless of whatever the minutia detail of why precisely in this circumstance it didn't work that way, is because Trump still, to some degree, thinks we're playing regular politics. You can't, right before the midterms, walk the Marine Corps into an American city and say, well, that's it. We're putting a Marine on every street corner. Oh, you know what? To hell with it. We're putting a fire team on every street corner because it's going to look bad in the midterms. I think that's a miscalculation, but I think that is about the stance that he's coming from, is that we've got 10 months or whatever um, before the midterms. And how much do you want to be the guy who has to stand in front of your future constituents or your current ones that you're trying to get reelected to and go, yeah, I absolutely think martial law, because whether they're the same or not, and I can hear everyone in the comment section go, I understand, to your average normie, they're the same thing. Um, and so you need to have someone who's willing to get up in front of those future constituents and say, yeah, this is a good thing. And I don't know if you've looked at the Republican Party lately, but I don't think that person exists. I don't think that guy's coming. I am not in office. I am not running for office. I am not about to get up in front of a group of people and go, well, here's the deal. Either we can have an incredible, ridiculous amount of illegal immigrants doing whatever they want, be that committing billions of dollars worth of fraud or killing people because I got that white woman, or whatever the game is, right? Or we can send the Marine Corps in and we can have a country again. And if you can think of a Republican who is going to say that, who is running for office, then maybe that's not why, right? But the best bet you've got, even the most firebrandy guys, is like the Chip Roys or whatever, and they're not going to do it, right? No one is going to get up and say that because they're horrified they're going to lose their election. Um, to the Milky's thing. So it's been long enough that probably nobody knows anymore that this crew in particular calls Tulsi Gabbard Milkies. And that is marginally because the only benefit that she added to politics is that she is a relatively attractive politician, which in politics doesn't mean much. However, she showed up at the raid of Georgia votes,
Yeah.
was standing in the background for some reason. Now, she's also been relatively quiet since she got into office, which personally I find impressive. Because she's been in politics long enough to know that if you're out of the spotlight for 10 minutes, no one cares about you anymore. No one notices what you're doing anymore. And your capability to hold future office basically plummets to zero. There are a few exceptions to this, but that's the politics general rules. And so that she hasn't been out giving interviews has been impressive. On top of that, it's pretty clear that Trump likes media darlings. So it's somewhat impressive all on its own that she's not out giving interviews.
Mm.
But when she does give interviews, the things that she says are, yeah, well, we have evidence of basically all the things that Trump has said.
That Barack Obama tried to overthrow the government. That's a
Yeah.
very good point. Un Unnatural or uncharacteristically quiet and out. And then when she does show up, it's not like, and we're gonna the crazy left. It's like the head of the DNI is like, yes, the last president tried to overthrow the U.S. government, and then just
Yeah.
And then on the other side of this, just keep in mind, like Ed Martin is like tweeting out pictures with what was it, Sidney Powell, and then Trump's like I think he posted a picture that had like Sidney Powell and then like Stu Peters in the bottom left of all people. So like right now they're also trying to whip the Q crazies back up for whatever goddamn reason. So like, not that I'm getting on the trust the plan bandwagon, but you can clearly see that they're whipping up some people for something.
that yeah. It doesn't
Well,
take much.
look,
Trump could do anything
Q,
to get the Q crazies going.
Q,
That's his Minutemen.
I just thought that Stu Peters thing had me, but sorry, focus. I got to use his rap name.
Yeah.
I was laughing my ass off when I saw it.
so Q is a great way to not have to do anything and still get people to vote. All right. Because it doesn't matter what does or does not happen. Q is here to tell you that tomorrow, we're going to institute martial law. Angels are going to fly down and
2 more
literally
weeks.
arrest the Democrat Party. The Archangel Michael is about to behead Nancy Pelosi on television. Like whatever it is, right? These things are all coming tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
And so if you need people who are like, oh man, we just need to stretch this out a little bit longer. The millions of people who are reading Q drops and are like, oh my God, how great is it going to be when Jesus returns and crowns Donald Trump, Junior King of Heaven? You have Q say anything.
JFK is still alive. He's going to get it to complete his term.
Right. Oh man. We're going to bring him back, and he's gonna demolish the CIA this time, guys.
We'll do it for sure. No, but back to no, yeah, no, that Q is sad because it's complete pacification, but it's also the whole meme about, when it says like caution coffee hot. It's like, yeah, those people are fucked regardless. The people that needed a warning on coffee is like this, they were gonna walk into a sinkhole and eventually die from they were gonna tie their shoelaces wrong and die. And back to the Tulsi thing though, that is something to note. The quietness and then what she has said, and also being at the Fulton County raid. And I know like, all the other demands Trump's making of Minneapolis, right there. It's all, you're going to hand over this, you're going to hand over that. But one of the first things, I don't think it's been repeated, is you're also going to hand over the voter rolls.
Yeah.
And
Well,
because there were
so
5 points, and now the one circulating is four, and it's all
yeah.
about illegals. But one of the first things was hand us your voter rolls. So these are three data points. Tulsi coming out and saying like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago about Obama. Tulsi being at the Fulton County raid. And then as this thing is coming to a head, seemingly an insurrection in Minneapolis, the primary demand or the first demand was voter rolls. Like these this isn't trust the plan. Now we're actually rationally piecing things together.
Well, if you want to know, because there is some truth to Donald Trump has a giant ego, right? And so if you want to know why it is that, amongst any number of other reasons, right? Whether or not he has the purest intentions some other place in this discussion, Donald Trump said the 2020 election was stolen. So now we need to prove whether or not the 2020 election was stolen.
Yeah, of all the shit that I'll
So,
give Trump and all the weaknesses that he has, if there's one thing I have faith in, it's that he's going to be on his deathbed going, I did not lose the 2020 election. It was stolen. It was rigged. This,
right.
that's it. That's
We
the
had
only
the
thing
most
I have faith in
tremendous
him to
election,
do.
and they stole it. They took it from us. It was the worst fraud in American history.
I'm the only
And so,
president to have won 3 elections. Yeah.
right. And well, him and Obama. Um, funny enough,
Well,
same
he
election.
had a proxy, so that's cheating.
But look, that's gonna matter, right? But what is in the world of things that are truly impressive, I halfway think that it is a sign that this mattered to Trump because his appointments suck. Okay. And people need to just say that out loud more often. He's not great at appointing people. Um, and at best, he finds one who is good at one thing, and then is like, oh, but, this person who sucks at literally everything does this one thing well. Uh, Gabbard has turned out so substantially much better than I think anybody could have theorized. Even the radical simps were like, oh, we're gonna get Tulsi Gabbard on, every interview in the world, telling us everything that's going on, and she doesn't, and the director of national intelligence shouldn't, right? And so it it is truly incredible that she is only at the right place at the right time. Uh, that is a shockingly good pick for a guy who's got both Kash Patel and Pam Bondi in the second term. And look, if anybody should be demonstrating that they were the wrong pick for those jobs, it is those two. You know, don't get me wrong, Bondi does great things in court, all right, but that means she doesn't need to be on Fox News every 20 minutes. She needs to be in court, which means she doesn't in Trump's cabinet. She does not need to be the attorney general. That's not the place for her. But there she is. Um, or at best, she needs to be the attorney general of the 90s who didn't talk that much. And she is not that person. So,
Yeah, I'm never gonna warm up to Bondi, but I will say this: I have warmed up to Tulsi quite a bit. Something that
yeah,
really impressed me right off the bat. I want to say one of the first things she did as DNI is she went straight to Bangladesh. All right. Now you don't
really?
do that for a joy. Yeah, I think she went like straight to Bangladesh. Because we just had like a regime change over there to put unison. As a matter of fact, we did regime change during the Biden admin across all of South Asia. There was this guy who worked for the State Department by the name of Donald Liu. He went to Pakistan. He locked up Imran Khan because he was aggressively neutral on Ukraine. He tried to essentially oust Modi out of India. And then he went over to Bangladesh and put unison in Bangladesh. Now, if you were paying attention to the whole South Asia thing and the Donald Liu thing, Modi in India sort of had like a proto Doge moment because Modi's primary financial backer is the Adani Group. And all of the Soros NGOs who are aligned with PAC ISI went hard at the Adani Group. So they were having this hood rat war this entire time. So if you were going to be serious about being the foreign wing of Doge, to get the foreign side of that, to give Doge, more shit to work with, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go do the tour of South Asia and you're going to figure out what the fuck we were doing in Bangladesh. You're going to figure out what the fuck we were doing in India. And you're going to try to unfuck Pakistan. I don't know how to fuck you unfuck Pakistan, but you're going to try. And that was the first thing she seemed to have in mind, was going and handling that. And that's something that stood out to me because nobody wants to go deal with South Asia. Like there's got to be a reason why you want to go deal with that shit.
yeah. No, it's been a strangely good pick, which after years of her in politics was shocking. And I know the internet doesn't like to hear this, but Tulsi Gabbard was basically Bernie Sanders with boobs, and that was not exciting for me. All right. she somehow or another has stopped doing that, which is to say that even if she thinks all those things still, she's at least shut up about it, which I appreciate.
I'm gonna miss the workout videos in tights though.
It does, it does, I would imagine, beg the conclusion that there is something serious because she's not retarded. She's obviously experiencing this. It doesn't really seem like something you're going to come out and meme about if it's as serious as this, right? I mean, there's all sorts of, Trump being like, yeah, I don't want the Somalis in my country. Like the fraud is legitimate, but it's also there's still an air of like you can just make fun of it. If it's something as serious as this, that they're gonna uncover the overthrowing of the 2020 election, this is what I imagine the DNI would be doing. Even more so if it's somebody who is not, I don't know, uninitiated with media. If this person's shutting the fuck up, that I would imagine implies there's actually something serious happening.
Well, her being on the ground is ridiculous for
Yeah.
any number of reasons, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Just security.
well, one, yeah, okay, security. That said, one of the benefits of not being in the spotlight all the time is that no one's trying to kill you.
Yeah.
So maybe some. However, presumably, this should just be left to the FBI. It's domestic law enforcement. That's what it is. Maybe the marshal's office. You could make that argument if you wanted. However, the director of national intelligence is standing over an FBI raid for some reason. Well, as a guy who got arrested by the FBI, who had the FBI overtly lie in court documents for which the FBI will never be punished, nor will that agent, I understand not trusting the FBI. They have a track record of behaving like this. They've behaved like this since inception. Hoover was a scumbag. That's how it's been. That's the history of the FBI from the go, or from the
Peter
word go.
Strzok was their counterintel guy. Like that
Right.
guy's a literal demon. Like if that was the head of counterintelligence, there's no, yeah, you can't trust FBI at all.
Exactly. And so presumably she is there to go, well, we tried to find the right guys to do this. We tried to find guys that hopefully aren't that scumbaggish, right? It's pretty. The FBI is pretty unironically the original Trump immigrant speech. They're liars and rapists and thieves, and I presume some of them are good people. Um, and so, hopefully you have chosen the good people to go down there and get this. But just in case, let's personally supervise this to make sure that it goes the way it's supposed to.
And you don't even need to have like a realistic way to supervise it. I would imagine just having the head of DNI would make a bunch of rank and files, dude. Just rank file, just shut the fuck up. So when the principal comes into the office, like it doesn't matter if the principal knows what you're doing. Like everyone's asshole kind of puckers. You're like, all right, fuck off.
Exactly. Right. And so clearly, for all the reasons stated previously, 2020 election fraud's a big deal to Trump, which means, the boss wants to know how this went. So there's probably some of that there. But for the benefit of the doubt, you're watching this because, okay, you have collected these things. First of all, give me the receipt for what you just collected. All right. Now we know in the future if anything has changed, which unto itself is a at least passive attempt to hold the FBI accountable for their actions ever, which they have no capability to do. The FBI is, again, liars, rapists, and murderers, and I assume some good people. And so, the capability to say, no, we know for a fact this is what we picked up is actually a giant deal in an organization that is guaranteeably running on fraud.
Yeah. I saw them seize this suitcase and they handed it to me.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty low threshold, but I mean, again, as I assume some of them are good people. Yeah.
Shout out to those two 1811s.
Yeah. There's two of them. Yeah. Um, Which are so, and the thing about the whole, not just the Trump's ego, although that is very helpful here with, proving the 2020 election, but there's also a very pragmatic thing of like nothing you're doing matters if these things continue to be absolute just dog shit. 100 trillion mail-in ballots at midnight coming in an 18-wheeler. Nothing you're doing now matters. And you could still wrap up Trump's ego into that, where it could very well be he doesn't, and I think to a degree he probably does love the country. It made him rich. I don't think he's completely soulless, but I just try to be pragmatic. Like he might simply want to save the country simply so his legacy goes on.
Yeah.
He just might
And
not
look,
want it all be erased by the next election.
I'm not here to tell you that Trump is a massive cynical asshole.
No,
Trump
I don't think I don't think Orange Man's bad. I also, I'm not saying you are. I also don't think he's Jesus. I think
no,
I
right.
think he's
He's
a
an
thrice,
optimistic asshole.
yeah, I think he's a thrice married guy that lives in a gold penthouse and, owns
Right.
patch, which is go for it.
Exactly. Right. But to the legacy point, the man has only been stamping the name Trump on every single thing he can get his hands on for
Also
the
a good
past 40
point.
years. So,
That's also
I mean, yeah, he's interested in his legacy.
that's a good point too.
Yeah, and it's a very, you got to have a certain level of optimism, even if it's a little bit of naivety, to be like, you know what? I think I can just dodge the civil war by making the economy line go up. Like, you know, critique him for his mindset on that all you want, but you got to be an optimist to believe that's possible.
Yeah.
Well, Trump suffers from a lot of Clintonism. Um, and around Clinton's reelection was when the "it's the economy, stupid" line was coined, and that's for good reason, right? If it's the '90s and there's not the beginnings of a civil war in the street going on every week, then yeah, the economy matters more than most things. And I think one of the problems that the angrier portions of political internet has with Trump is that he still acts like it's the '90s sometimes. Still acts like, well, if I just say the migrants are criminals, then everybody it's the '90s, so crime isn't horribly prolific after '92, right? And it's a very Clinton-esque move. Every now and again, he shows some signs that he's breaking out of that. Hey, the TDA guys are like literally laying siege to apartment complexes. This is bad, right? And that may or may not be related to Trump having lived through these things in the past. There's a whole lot of discussion that he likes the FBI, and the reason that he won't destroy the FBI is because he had to deal with the mob when he was younger, and the FBI showed up and prosecuted those people. And if you're
Fair.
Trump, right, hey, I saved
Construction in New York, yeah.
right, I saved $500 million because the FBI put criminals in jail, is a notable moment in your life. Okay, for all the rest of us, the FBI are scumbags, and they always have been. Do they at least accidentally do something good on occasion? Yes, they do. Right. And, I'm sure the like 9 FBI guys who one of them gives an interview every year and is like, all I did was track child pornographers for 20 years. I hate you. The FBI does good things. Yeah. Yeah. You guys,
Yeah.
you tiny minority of the FBI do good things. On the other hand, the FBI as a whole is a giant political enemy that punishes people's political opponents. That's what they do. So, yeah. Okay. I presume some of you are good people. And so, right, these are the interactions that Trump has had with the FBI. Because, by the way, of the things that is consistently argued on the internet, Trump was an FBI informant for Epstein, as far as anybody can tell. Now, whether or not that's because he was trying to take shade off him, right? And by the way, both reasons work. If he's in the Epstein files for being a kid toucher, but went to the FBI and went, yeah, so I was doing that, but if I didn't go to jail, that'd be good. Then yeah, he likes the FBI. If he's in, those files for being an FBI informant because like, hey, kid touching is wrong, then Trump went to the FBI, doesn't like kid touchers, and said, hey, this kid toucher is bad. And the FBI went, yeah, he is. Both reasons are perfectly good reasons for Trump to like the FBI. Motives are a little different, but they're good reasons.
Sure.
And so, Trump's interactions with the FBI are probably different than all the rest of us, right? In that sense, which is to say that up until they raided his house, they were all positive. And so it's much easier to talk yourself into like, well, they were just in a bad spot politically and they had to, and okay, that wasn't good, but right. And so you get what you get. At the same time, pretty clearly, we the White House is aware enough to say that maybe all the rank and file FBI guys aren't that good because that they didn't send the head of the FBI to go watch this raid or to execute this raid, I guess I should say. Uh, no less, Gabbard's there going, hey, show me all the stuff, right? And to be fair, I'm reading the tea leaves a little to say why she was there, but no less, she is there. It's in the world of tiny, tiny hopes. That's not terrible.
Hmm.
Yeah, think about it this way too. Like if they let the head of the FBI be on that raid and it was a picture of Kash Patel holding up a phone, the entire internet right now would be going, look, the Indians burying the files. We're never going to see that again. So it's like, thank God it was Tulsi standing there. Otherwise, we'd have a whole nother shitstorm to deal with. And, it's not like we have enough of those going on lately. We need another one. And, we just got to throw gas on the fire 5 seconds. I just got to find the worst possible things to set people off with.
Well, I mean, yeah, that is true too. Though this seems like a good time to remind everyone of how Trump works because it's of extreme relevance to all of this. One, Trump says everything, and I mean everything. Okay. We're going to go to the moon. We're going to land spaceships on Mars. We're never leaving Earth again. Everything. Okay. The dollar is collapsing. Oh, it's the greatest economy in the world. All the things come out of Trump's mouth. Okay. And there are a whole series of people on the internet who love to gin you up by telling you only half. Okay. And, some of these people I know. Right. And so you get these kind of tenuous discussions that go something like, well, it looks a lot like Trump is going to eat babies. Never what Trump said. It's usually some vague misinterpretation, but it's close enough for government work. At the same time, what is Trump saying out of the other side of his mouth? We're going to have the most babies. They're going to be the best babies. Everyone will say how great of babies they are. They're just going to be the cutest babies that have ever been. And you know what? Whether you like this method or not, and I understand if you don't, but whether you like this method or not, Trump says everything, watches the reaction, and then does what everybody wants. Okay. And he has been doing this since 2017. It is incredible to watch people make the exact same mistake repeatedly for a decade.
I don't understand it because for me, like my brain is wired to look at things from like the realism lens, and I mean that in like the actual political sense, not like some whatever I want it to be realism. So for me, at this point, Trump, when he starts talking, it's like the teacher from Peanuts. It's just immediately like I couldn't listen to him if I wanted to anymore. It's just womp 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 womp. And I'm sitting over here like looking at the battle tracking map, waiting to see where the tanks are going to be on the border, and then that's how I'm going to make my analysis on what he's doing.
Yes, right. Because by the way, and if you don't believe this method is true, what we're never going to do, we don't need to go fight Venezuela. We're just going to seize all their ships, because it's in American waters anyway. And it's not in American waters, but who cares? Right? Trump has just redrawn international borders in the middle of a speech because he feels like it.
9-dash timeline thinking, just fuck it.
Right. And by the way, the next morning, Maduro is on his way to the United States. Okay. Every single time. We're gonna bomb Iran off the face of the earth. We're gonna kill everyone everywhere. It's gonna be the best bombing campaign in history. Next day they launch 6 strikes. Right? Okay. By the way, and what is the commentariat doing during this time? All of your podcasters, all of your mainstream media, all of them are doing the same thing. Oh my God, we're gonna have boots on the ground in Iran. It's gonna be another forever war. For some reason, that's not happening. Right? What does Trump say, by the way? At some point, well, I guess, if we need boots on the ground, then we need boots on the ground. He says everything, every single thing. Okay. And a lot of you guys need to stop freaking out until something actually happens. And I know that's not awesome, right? There's no great projection of all the things that are going to happen based off what Trump said. It's not Days of Our Lives, White House edition, but also a whole lot of people paint themselves into ridiculous corners. Ridiculous corners, right? Because, by the way, in both Iran and Venezuela, we're supposed to be in a forever war right now, right?
And we were supposed to have seized Greenland by now. Like,
Oh yeah. And we're supposed to be fighting Europe because of Greenland. I'm sorry. Far be it for me to forget that. Uh, you know, I
Fuck
mean,
Denmark. It's just a limestone land bridge. It's not a real country. They can't even speak their own language. All right, just fuck it. We're taking
Right.
the Gwick Gap. That's ours.
and again, because Trump says everything.
he
The
effectively
we
says
were
nothing.
right.
But then he still does. He he did kidnap the head of a narco state,
Yes.
which I think, by the way, as an aside, is the funniest thing he's ever done.
Oh.
But everything else, that's the funniest thing he's ever done
Oh
is
man.
kidnap a president.
Right. It's
Like,
yoink. I'll just take
not,
that. Thanks.
not kill him, not even kill him. Killing him would be so much more dignified.
Yeah.
Dude, reading the report about the sonic weapon or whatever you want to call it, that read like something out of 40K. That read
That
like
was
something
awesome.
like the Astartes show. Like that
Yeah,
was ridiculous.
They were like
You-
40 guys
you
took
were-
on 2,000.
Right. You were talking to the two guys who have been telling people for years, you do not want Delta to come to your door. Okay. You just don't. Right?
Yeah.
And I don't know how many people, how many specifically foreigners have told me over the years, like, oh, yeah, Delta's overhyped trash, blah, blah, blah. The American military can't do anything, blah, blah, blah. Like, well,
They brought a psyker.
They
yeah,
did.
right. We dropped 35,000 years into the future, came back and went, yeah, we're just going to do this now. Okay.
That is still the fucking like craziest thing that they did. They essentially incapacitated. Like it would be impressive if it was an ex-president, but
Yeah.
to go in and take the president, and it's not Venezuela is a shithole, but it's not Sierra Leone. It's not you know it's not Kenya. It's got some force. It's not nothing, is my point.
Yeah. Well, one of those things that and dear Americans, for entirely immigration related purposes and whatever's left of Europe that needs to hear this, the rest of the world does not work like the West. Not even a little bit. Okay. Once you get outside of the West, you are almost exclusively discussing grades of shithole. Okay. That's what it is. That's what it's always going to be. And if you don't believe that, take a look at how long we've been sending out foreign aid. If you don't believe that, take a look at how many times we've, drilled wells, dug holes, built cities, whatever it is. We've been doing this for most of a century now. Nobody cares. It's all just, graft and theft and destruction and killing. Now, I don't care what you think the reasons are for that. That is the case.
Hmm.
Okay. And for the, 9 minutes or whatever, where Venezuela held an election because but we're just going to do, normal Western things until they got the results of that election and went, never mind, we're going to do South American things.
Hmm.
This is how it works.
Yeah, and even when you do go outside the West and you see someone like talking about, oh, but Saudi Arabia or whatever, like Saudi Aramco, we built that. It's not even a real country. We built that. Like everything outside the West that is kind of okay. We sent some people in there. We built that. It's one of those things that you get a lot of these people that I swear to God, it's the travel women. It really is the travel women. They go out, they eat the food. They say that the food's so good. It's the kind of person that it's a female. They're going to India. They're told not to eat the street food. They eat the street food, and now you're babysitting a retarded woman with food
Yeah.
poisoning. Like that's basically how we got to this point, is those
Well,
females.
so Saudi's a funny thing, right? Because the internet has moved on from things that it used to know. And if you don't believe that, Google the name Dina Ali. All right. It will be a perfectly good entrance into what Saudi Arabia is. Uh, you know, there are all kinds of people all of a sudden who've decided that, oh, but I went to all these Islamist countries and everything's great. Saudi Arabia disappears more people than the Soviet Union did, like per capita. All right. It is not a good place. It's not kind of a good place. Now, again, I know that all kinds of people are going there. Probably the biggest headliner right now is Tucker Carlson going, oh, but I went to Saudi Arabia and everything's great. Like, yeah, all the people who went to the Soviet Union from the U.S. that were big foreign dignitaries. You know, Bernie Sanders went to the Soviet, held his wedding in the Soviet Union. Never came back with, well, the KGB killed a bunch of people in front of my face. They don't let that happen.
Yeah,
they
Tucker
don't.
might be fine in Saudi Arabia, but how about those people that went to a music festival in Las Vegas? How'd that turn out?
No, yeah, no, it's always the worst example. Like, well, I went there and they liked me. It's like, yeah, well, you're a prime minister.
Right.
Like they threw a
Yeah.
parade for you.
Yeah. They
That's Xi
shut down
Jinping
half
saying
the-
LA is beautiful. Like,
Yeah, when he went to Frisco and Newsom cleaned it all up in an afternoon.
I don't know, maybe I'm naive I think, and it's not because I attribute some like glorious attributes to Trump. As we've already said, like I also don't think he's a bad dude. But you know, I don't think he's got I don't think he has the halo over him. I don't think anyone in power does. I also think that if there's anyone who would do something as insane as like prosecuting an ex-president or saying like this, you know, the elections were overthrown, we're going to start arresting all these people, it would be Trump for no other reason than like I always think of his quote from right after the tsunami in Indonesia, I think in 2003. They killed 400,000 people. Somebody was asking him about whatever his newest building was or his newest show was. He has a quote that's something along the lines of like, "It doesn't matter, nothing matters. Like you can be a great show, it can be on prime time, and the next day 400,000 people die. Like ultimately, nothing matters. There's nothing you can do to control it." I think he probably views that like I don't think he's viewing it as like, well, I can't be the guy that initiated civil war. I do think to a degree there's probably a level of him that's like, yeah, what does it matter? What do I care? What do I give a
So,
shit? And to the ego thing, they have stomped all over his ego and reputation for a decade.
and that's at least as much, not specifically because of the ego, right? You know, is Trump going to prosecute an ex-president? Well, Trump is the first
Well, these
ex-president
things say, yeah,
prosecuted,
yeah.
so you know. And by the way, um, dear political consultants everywhere, because I know you fags are the ones who are saying this kind of thing to him. The base is screaming things like, "What happened to what goes around comes around? If you don't want this precedent set, don't set it." Because the left set all the precedent. We've done it all. We've done all the things that the right was not supposed to do, lest the left do it back. So fine, do it to them, you know? And yeah, I know. Oh, but Don, there's, you know, some normies out there that don't know. There are no normies out there that don't know Trump was shot. None. Okay. And the ones that might apply to, we're never going to vote anyway. Okay. And they're not about to just, oh, I'm 48 years old and I have removed myself from politics since 93. And, you know, because Waco changed my life and I decided that I'm getting away from politics forever. So I'm living in a shack in the woods and I haven't turned on the news since 93. And I go out of my way to avoid everything to do with politics. But a carrier pigeon brought me a letter that said Trump arrested Obama. This is not happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's not it.
once we get to a certain level, the normies no matter they no longer matter. And the reason is like you already see this with how many people just don't want anything to do with politics. They spend every moment of their lives trying to dodge it at this point. And I'm telling you right now, the moment we do something like start locking up former presidents and clearing the Insurrection Act and going to that level, all of the normies are going to cognitively just shut down. Yeah. And everyone that is still capable of cognitively acting and doing things, They either need to be friendly or they need to be put down.
Yeah.
And that's basically what it is a civilizational flashbang. And at that moment, once that goes off, anyone that's still moving is either friend or foe. That's all it is.
Well, welcome to what is becoming to be fair, niche political internet discussion. Um, the denazification of Germany after World War II. We need to do that to Minnesota. Okay, fine. We're going to have some problems.
I
Give them all
prefer the
jobs.
term reconstruction if
Give
we're
them all
going to
jobs
let's
at
make
NASA.
this American,
Give
can't
them
we?
all
Let's do
jobs at NASA.
reconstruction.
Like, what? Is that what we're
Yes,
doing?
exactly.
Give them the
Well,
Germany
so
treatment, bring them over, and
look,
yeah,
I'll tell you what. We'll take all the people with over 110 IQ, and we'll give them jobs at NASA, which I think,
cumulative.
based on Minneapolis, means there's two of them.
Yeah.
So
Shout out to those two Somali 1811s working for the FBI right now.
Yeah, no, I don't.
So,
I do think that no, I think there's actually a lot of weight to what Stoli said, and like I've seen it simply in the life of this podcast, where I look at something like COVID and people that like froth at the mouth attacking me because I'm an anti-vax, whatever, kill your grandma. It's not that I never expected apology from any of them. I'm not naive enough to be like I told you so. I know human nature. No one's ever gonna. Nobody with an ego is ever gonna say that. I am a bit surprised at the number of people who, like a rabid dog, were angry at me. Now, just as if the memory's been wiped, they'll just openly be like, "Well, there are some concerns with like the mRNA vaccines because the number of heart attacks now." And like,
yeah.
again, I'm not dumb enough to be like, "I told you so," because it doesn't matter. I'm very aware. You're screaming at the moon. It's not. It has no effect. But it is notable. And it's something I talked about a lot during COVID. It's almost kind of like a theory, and now I firmly believe it's true. Was even at the height of it, or the depth of it, however you want to say it, was I truly only ever believed that there was like 5% of people that really wanted everyone to get the shot, and there was really only like 5% of people that were speaking out against it. 90% were just spineless people who went along to go along. They don't actually have value. And
So
that
you're
sounds
pretty
black
close.
that sounds blackpilling, but it's actually kind of an optimistic thing to think about. Because what Stoli said is like, yeah, I think they could start sending Delta into like LA, and 90% of people would be like, well, there's been fraud in this country for a long time. Like the people with like Ukrainian, they will come out and be like, well, granted, we were infiltrated by the communists 80 years ago, and McCarthy was right. We all understand that. And like some people are going to be losing their minds. I did the whole "I told you so" thing, but most of them are so consciously spineless or unconsciously just retarded that they don't. It'll be no more or less of a trend than putting saying "Free Palestine." There
So
is there's no basis to any of them.
let me buttress your theory for you and give you better numbers. And that's why I say you're close. So for a bunch of years, the left was going out and trying to find what the radical base looked like in size, and the numbers were almost always 8%. And the more radical of a publication that you were talking to, the higher you'd get. But it maxed out, I think, at 13%. And it bottomed out at about 5.5. And so the real number seems to be 8, maybe 9% of the electorate. Um, is really the ones who are doing this pushing the narrative kind of thing. Lots more people than that are watching, MSNBC as a whole or whatever. But the ones who are out there actually doing the things is the target number is 8%. And so your off the cuff theory of like it's maybe 5%, like, yeah, you're right in the ballpark.
But it's actually it's very white pilling
Yeah.
because you realize it's not you versus 96%. It's you versus 4%, and there's a whole bunch of people that are just they think the 4% is actually 5%. So they're going
Yeah.
along. They'll change the hat. They don't care. And it's not even some shrewd, you know, survival acumen of, of fucking Werner von Braun being like, listen, I see the deal. I'm getting out of here. It's not even that, because that implies intelligence and planning. There's not even that.
No,
This is very simply like those things in New York where they'll do like the social experiments where they'll just put ten actors in a line, like fake, not actual actors. I mean, like 10 guys like us, and people would just start getting in line behind them. They'll
yep,
wrap multiple blocks.
yeah,
There's no iPhone coming out. There's not,
nothing.
they're just
Right, it's just
fucking
10
getting
dudes
on.
standing in a line. Yeah,
And
so
it'll grow to like tens of thousands of people.
yeah,
I really believe that now and it's, so I start to look at it and I go, oh, so when you see these huge waves of everyone think Trump is a Nazi, it's like put on the X-ray and it's actually like a little tiny thing inside of this giant mascot uniform. And then you go, oh, we can fuck them up.
yeah. Well, so look, man, you wanna find this out in your own life, right? People are afraid to say no. Okay, just as a premise, this is the follow-on product of being a relatively polite society 50 years ago, but well, not 50, but I guess it's more like 80 now, whatever. But people don't like to just say, no, that's fucking stupid to people, right? That's you get called all kinds of mean names, ask me how I know. Um, all kinds of stuff like that. And so when you get a pollster who calls you and says, is Donald Trump a Nazi? Or is he like maybe an okay guy? Right? The implication of the question is that Trump is a Nazi, right? And this is part of how you ask questions to get the answers you want. You can go read all about pollsters who do this stuff all the time. You phrase the question in a way that tells people what you want the answer to be. So now it's not even a question of whether or not they agree with the statement. It's whether or not they're willing to tell you no. Okay. And people are not willing to tell you no. And if you don't believe this, there's a whole science dedicated to this called social engineering, which is unironically people walking into the most high security areas or whatever in the country. And the only thing required to stop
With a
them at any
clipboard and a
point,
walkie-talkie.
right? The only thing at any point required to stop them is one guy just going, no, you can't fucking be here. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But this is before we even add on to the consequences of that too. There's not even consequences to your answer there. And this reminds me of when I was working in Abu Dhabi and I had a bunch of fucking Indians at Ferrari World. Like, you want to talk about afraid to say no. These guys are afraid to say no to anything because they think they're going to be fired. No
Yeah.
is the only English word that they know, or sorry, that they really know, and they know not to say it. So I would have to sit there. I would have to give instructions to this Indian guy in Abu Dhabi, and I'd have to be like, all right, now repeat back to me what I just fucking said so that I know you understand it. Because otherwise they just say yes, even if they don't understand it, and walk
Yeah.
off. And that's
Exactly.
once you start putting in consequences, that's how people start acting.
Yeah.
The flip, and again, yeah, so it's not just that you're getting an over the phone pollster, but do I want to come out on social media and say, yeah, I think this thing is dangerous, or I think the
Yeah.
2020 election is stolen, or I don't think we should be, whatever,
Yeah, if
supporting
I'm that
Ukraine.
Indian's boss at that moment, that's pretty terrifying for
Well, look, other guy who was canceled off the internet right along with me, right around 2020 for absolutely no reason. If outside of whether or not, people have these various problems of whether they want to say no, the reality was, and probably the best example is, two doctors in San Francisco say that COVID is not this bad. The vaccine is not a good thing. They are canceled. All of their interviews are scoured off the internet. The only place you can find them is one website that like is personally hosted by some guy named Bob. Like there's no one telling people that like, hey, maybe this is all bullshit. Maybe we shouldn't do this, because if you say that, right, you're gone off out of the mainstream news, out of even the capability to host a podcast on the internet for a while. Whatever it is, your Twitter accounts are canceled. Your everything is destroyed in 20 minutes, right? And that's how consensus making apparatus works. So, I knew people personally who I was like, look, don't take this vaccine. And they're like, well, I took one shot because I wanted to go back to work. And I was like, well, why'd you take one? What'd you do that for? Well, just so I could go back to work. Like, you knew the second one was coming. I know that because we talked about it. Well, yeah, But I figured after that, if they kept going, I just fake it. Like, why didn't you fake the first one? You know? And these things, well, but Don, everyone on planet Earth is telling me that the vaccine's a good thing except you. And like, how do you know? Well, the easiest way is to listen to the people telling you to take it. Like, oh, vaccines take 50 years to develop, except this one, which took 5 minutes. No. Okay, I'm not taking it.
And you could even see it when before the 2020 election. I mean, there's all those tweets of like Kamala and Hillary being like, "I'm not taking no Trump vaccine." The
Yeah.
average time for a vaccine is
Yeah.
5 years, and then in no time, it's like, "Take it, Nazi." But
Yeah.
again, I try to flip that and to look at it as like a positive light. Just fast forward 5 months, you could start coming out and being like, "So are you against the Delta Force raids against Gavin Newsom?" The average person will be like, "No, I mean, I love America," and like, that's my point. Is that it really is a couple of people need to support martial law, and the spineless people will be like, "Well, listen, I'm always about, security here at home," and I really do think that'll be it.
Well,
It will be
so
the inverse of COVID, the vaccine.
this is why Don Lemon getting arrested is such a good thing.
It's so
Right?
funny too.
It is.
Was it the KKK Act too of all fucking things?
Yes.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Oh man. So the thing that
God,
stops you from shutting down church services or abortion clinics is short titled the KKK Act, right? Because it was how do we stop the Klan from going to these black churches and shutting down worship services? And so now, to be fair, I have not seen the indictment. Okay, it's all internet rumor as I say this at this
sure.
moment of
Yeah.
what precisely is in the indictment. That he's been arrested, yes, but the precise things in the indictment unclear. But the thing that he should be indicted for is short titled the KKK Act. And so a gay black man has been indicted under the
Captain,
KKK
smell
Act.
your fingers or smell my fingers.
Right.
What he's called there. Yeah.
That is
Until
incredible.
proven otherwise, has been indicted under the KKK Act, and it is beautiful. But to the point of why it's so good, look, we can and will go after your consensus making apparatus, right? Uh, and to the normies and whoever does or doesn't, we're never convincing the 8% that this was a good arrest. It's never happening. The pick your left wing influencer or Rachel Maddow or whatever. That person is never coming out and going, yes, okay, he broke the law. What are you going to do? He deserves to be arrested. Nobody's above the law. That's not happening. And one, that's what everybody wants, right? That's not going to happen unless we set up our own KGB. And I know the quick answer is, Don, but we have the FBI.
I have a Smirch knife. I can fill the gap.
Exactly, right? But unless we start our own legitimate show trials, that's not coming, right? So for everybody else, right, that 90%, and it's really more like 80, 85, right? Because there's about 8% on the right that you're never convincing of anything other than what the right thinks. But for everybody else, if Lemon gets convicted, and we're pretty far from that, understand that. But if Lemon gets convicted, it's going to be like, well, how did he get convicted in Minneapolis if he didn't break the law? Right? And it will just be assumed to be true. And if you don't believe that, look at O.J. Simpson. Okay.
The juice is loose.
Right? A huge majority of the country was like, well, I guess he didn't do it. And then he wrote a book talking about if I did it, only for like 10 years later, somebody to find the knife in the wall of his house and that to be exactly how his wife was killed. But Double Jeopardy says you can't try him again. So, oh well.
Do you think Trump will make Waltz stamp the arrest? Or do you think somehow make it like a state thing to where Governor Waltz has to come out and say
That would be hilarious, but sadly, there's no governor overlap in federal charges.
damn it. But
The
again,
good news there is that Waltz can't pardon him.
yeah, I'm really kind of leaning into what Stoli said and what you're saying about the 8%, I really do think that Trump could do the most insane, crazy shit, and the vast majority of people would just go along with it.
Yeah.
I really do.
Well, I mean, that's been
People
the
are going
story of
to
the country for a
cheer
long
when it's
time.
over, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. They're going to cheer because it's over. They're not going to cheer because the good guys won. They're not going to cheer because we're the good guys. They're going to cheer just be when they
That the war
think,
ended.
yeah, that's it.
They don't care who won.
Yeah, and they're going to hope we all just shut the fuck up and forget about it for a little while we raise a couple generations.
Yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
I would take that win. I'm not going to say you guys need to cheer it on because it's objectively right. I'm at a point where like I'll take the win if you guys just cheer because it's over.
well, um,
Well, here's the
the
thing: is you were
question
never going to
is,
make them have an ethical backbone anyway.
no.
So that's the other
It-
point. It's like I'm not going to try to get them to admit they wanted it.
no, the question here is effectively, are we going to get there? Right? Because the method is sound, right? If you know, the soft on crime Democrats passed the 94 crime bill, and nobody's upset about it, and I know that 9 people showed up when Biden was running for office and were like, but you sponsored the 94 crime bill, at least on the left. And okay, those 9 people were very, very, very upset about it. And no one else cared. Okay. Um, and that is, again, in at least short-term politics in this country, that's how it goes. Probably in much longer-term politics too, but it gets more debatable the further back you go. So the real question becomes, do we get to the end? Do we get to something that looks like victory? And this is what causes everybody and their brother to be angry about basically everything Trump does that is not, send the Marines, right? Because, hey, we're going to invoke the Insurrection Act and we're going to send, I don't know, a company of Marines to every major city in the country. And all they're going to do is run the ICE detention center, right? That's it. Um, they don't need to do much of anything else. We just need a place to drop these people off so that ICE can get back to deporting people faster. Is this really what the guys who want to see the hammer drop want? No. Would they be happy about it? Yes. Right. But MSNBC is going to lose their mind, right? Back to that conflation of martial law and Insurrection Act. Hey, they're just running the detention center so we have more agents on the streets. And the thing is, that doesn't sound exciting, right? In fact, it sounds very boring. And it would be. But you also would not have guys rolling around in MRAPs with 240s and 50 cals through the main streets of the United States, which the left wants. Make no mistake, they will fire the first shot if there's going to be an actual civil war. The right's not doing it. They were never going to do it. I don't care how many of your buddies are out there, on the weekends taking whatever classes, doing whatever shooting activity. It's never going to happen. Okay, the left will start shooting. That's how it's going to be. And so some semi-boring but very exciting sounding things could happen, and it would be fine. But the issue is so much of specifically online politics just wants to see heads on pikes, right? Hey, yeah, we want ICE to go out there and fight the protesters, rioters, call them whatever you want. I don't really care. And at the end, what we want to see is, heads on spikes outside the ICE office, right? With a nice little sign that says, stay out of the way. And sorry, dear portion of the internet of which I am a part of, that day's not coming. Okay. That's not happening anytime
I want
soon.
that as much as everyone else, but at the end of the day, and there's a reason, and I get why we have to chimp so hard over it. I get why everyone's got anxiety over it, and it's because of the succession crisis we're in now. I
Mhm.
mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't take a political rocket scientist to realize that when we blink and Trump's gone, we're going to be watching JD Vance, Ron DeSantis, and Rubio in a fucking knife fight. It's going if we think the infighting we're dealing with now is bad, that's going to be brutal. And so
Oh,
that's why
I hope you're
people.
ready for Ted Cruz to run for president again.
That too, yeah. That is the other one that's going to come in, and what is it like in the WWE events with the surprise? Our guy jumps in there, and we make it a rumble.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen, and I get it. We would all like to see Trump do something to wrap this up, and something, because it would be a galvanizing thing to try to bring us back to the one team, one fight thing if we kind of did push that way. So I get why people want that. It would be a unifying thing for the coalition. The
Yeah.
problem is Trump is also the guy that lives in the 90s, as we addressed earlier, that had to be told by Barron Trump that the podcast circuit is more popular than Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, as much as we wish we could just get straight to the action, the sad thing is we're going to go through the succession crisis in that knife fight first.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be a shit show after that might, spin into us winning, or it might just spin into the 30 years war over the printing press in the Western Hemisphere for once.
Well, that might be coming anyway. I know everybody and their brother is very excited because all of the stock accounts and all those kinds of things are talking about where precious metals and Bitcoin and all this other kind of stuff is. Every time they break a record, um, no one is talking about, silver and gold, silver losing 15% or something like that overnight. No one's talking about,
Bitcoin level manipulation, just plain.
yeah, Bitcoin is being like ridiculously hard held at like 80 grand or something like that. Um, or in that vicinity. All kinds of stuff like this is going on, and what you get from everybody who wants to try and sound smart is like, oh, but we're breaking new highs like every 8 seconds. Like, well, when something is rising, yes, it breaks a new high. It continues to break the new high until it turns around. Um, at no point, well, maybe not at no point, but at basically no point during silver's rise did it jump, $20 in a day or whatever it was. It's always like $5, $3, whatever. And yeah, it breaks new highs, and somebody says something about it every time it hits a interesting number, like, oh, it hit $100, it hit 110, it hit 115. Um, and right now it's at like $100, right? That's a pretty massive drop. Or at least it was right before we started the podcast. Believe it or not, I did not check in the middle of what the price is. But um, there is a knife fight going on basically everywhere, and pretending like that's not the case to sell whatever it is that you're selling is a pretty good indication that like maybe I shouldn't listen to you that much. And it what should happen, it's not going to, but what should happen is people should start looking around. There's a thing I used to tell people about Tim Pool, and he's gotten a lot better since I used to tell people this. But what I want you to do is sit down and watch and anything that Tim Pool does, specifically by himself, with a notepad. And every time Tim makes a claim, I want you to write it, pause whatever you're watching and write it down. And I had a whole bunch of people call me after the first time I said that, and they were like, Don, why the hell should I do this? And I went, just do it, because you're not going to believe me. Right. And I could always tell who did, because they would go out of their way to call me sometime within the next, week or so and go, oh my God, he doesn't say anything. I always thought Tim said, X, Y, or Z, but like he doesn't. Um, and this is how it goes. Right. So back to that 8% on each side, 85% in the middle is you can, if you hardline push something, mostly what will happen is the people who don't like you will show up and tell you how you're a fucking idiot. If you just say everything, the 8% on each side will go, you're a fucking piece of shit. And the 85% in the middle will go like, oh yeah, Tim's right on point. He's totally, whomever, right, is right on point. He said all the right things, right? But it doesn't matter, because somehow either they will pick the thing that they hate and tell you that you said that, or they'll pick the thing that they love and they'll tell you said that. And either way, and by the way, this is the problem with the way all of commentary is arranged at the moment. Either way, they'll watch the video and they'll leave a comment. Okay.
Yeah. You look at that and you're like, yeah, that guy's just, he knows exactly what he's doing. And I find that all the time where I'm like, yeah, but you don't stand for anything. You're a fence. I mean, you got to wonder at what point, how long has Tim Pool's been doing this? What, 15 years? 15 plus?
Longer than that, 20 something.
So I've been doing it for six. I wish I couldn't, but I definitely can see where you would hit a point of like, I'm changing no one's mind. Everything is fucked, or everything's not fucked. I'm getting a pretty decent paycheck from this.
And it makes a lot more sense too when you consider before Tim worked with Vice, he was doing what? He was doing a lot of political activism, doing that,
Yeah.
collecting signatures kind of work for activists. And then he became a quote unquote journalist, learning how to be a real propagandist, so to speak. So yeah, he got a first class education in how bullshit it all is from the get go.
I'm friends with
And he
people that
applied that.
I'm
He
friends with.
applied that education.
I'm friends that I've seen the pictures they've sent me. I'm friends with a couple chicks who were friends with him back in like '08, and like they were
Yeah.
all going and doing. Yeah, I mean, he might pull you aside and be like, it's nothing's gonna fucking happen, or he might be like, hey, move the needle where you can, you know. Maybe let's give him the benefit of that. Maybe he's like, yeah, I donate to here and here because that's what actually changes things. But the rest of this is like, hey, whatever. And it's not like morally or ethically admirable, but it does kind of make sense to be like, he's got a good thing going. He doesn't not have a good thing going.
Yeah.
He's got the
Well, and
viewers, he's
look,
getting the
I,
money.
I don't I don't mean to turn this into a massive Tim Pool focus, right? I mean that this is a map. Go watch almost whomever you
Oh, no,
want.
no, you're 100% correct.
You know, go go watch literally anyone for about a week, right? And if you want to find out who you should be listening to, do this unironically, right? And okay, this isn't going to be great for your Joe Rogans, right? Because he's almost always talking to somebody else about whatever it is they do. Um, but every now and again, he'll voice his opinion. And you're going to end up watching 1,000 hours of Joe Rogan to really get this done. But go watch your political commentators, right? And 90% of them aren't saying anything,
No, of
right?
course not.
It's a friend of mine, or I guess maybe not anymore, but a guy that I know and have known since he was nobody in political commentary. Uh, put out something the other day that was like, if Trump does, and it's something that he's probably not going to do, right? Um, and so I went, let's just find out. So I went and searched his Twitter timeline for if Trump. And do you know what the common denominator was? None of that shit happened. Okay. Every time it was, if Trump does this, I will hate him forever. Right. And the theories escalated every time if Trump got said. Okay. This is how the game works, whether you like it or not. And by the way, this is for all of you who are like, bring back the show. Welcome to my cynicism on the subject, right? I have been thinking for a while about putting out a video that is just called Coming Up, right? And it's just, coming up on coming up on coming up on the show, right? And I will just say one sentence
Just big
and
things
I will
coming.
cut it progressively smaller back to the beginning because of all the stupid things that are going on in the commentary space, here's what I'm going to tell you in 4 seconds. But here's the really spicy part so that I can extend your watch time on my videos. It's all this big, stupid game. And the big, stupid game has no interest in getting things done. It wants your clicks, it wants you to fucking donate money, right? And poor Tommy's over here like, oh man, I just put out this video talking about like money needs to come from somewhere too. I'm
No,
just
no, no,
fucking
no,
with
no, no. I'm 100% agreeing with you.
I just want to support this coming up idea because this sounds like some kind of Sam Hyde million
Sounds,
dollar
this
extreme
sounds
bit, and I want
great.
I want to see where this is going.
Right
I
after
like
these
this.
messages, it just
you. Yeah.
just perpetually just fucking edging.
And this is the thing,
I
right?
think you
Is
should do this. This would be fucking legitimately funny, dude.
it, the problem, right, is if you actually care about the country, right? If you actually care about where we're going and what we're doing, the moment you start to see this shit, uh, it is literally stomach churning. And
It's
somebody is going
it's
to be like, oh, this is just how the sausage is made. Like, well, first of all, there's no sausage at the end of this. Okay.
there's not
There's,
even a
there's
product. Yeah.
no,
You can't
right.
even say like, yeah, the military industrial complex, they're evil, but at least they produce something.
Right. Missiles exist, faggot, you know?
Someone is screwing the cap of a Hellfire missile on.
Right.
That is better than this.
Exactly.
This is
Right.
just ether.
Yeah. And thus the term rage bait, and all
Ugh.
these kinds of things. And this is this is the kind of thing that, I don't want to turn this into some gay therapy session about why I don't make content, but at the same time, like before you get mad the next time your favorite fucking commentator says, if Trump is in the Epstein files, then we need to burn the country to the ground, or, I don't know, whatever it is that they happen to be saying that has probably no real foundation to it, right? Then maybe take a fucking breath. Go back and look at the last 58 times they said, if X happens, right? See how many happened. And I know no one's going to do this. I know I am old man yelling at cloudsing right now. But if you actually give a shit, if you actually care about where the country is going, right? That you would be better supporting Scott Pressler every day of the week than 90% of these people, right? And by the way, I am not here to tell you Scott Pressler is a saint. Somebody is going to type out something horrible in the comment section about him. You're probably right. Okay. On the other hand, Scott Pressler has a product he's selling you.
Yeah. No, even that is, yeah, it's when someone finally does do something, they're like, but he's gay. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Think about two things. Going back to the Tim Pool. Tim Pool was a door knocker and a signature collector who got
Yeah.
very cynical and went another route.
Yeah.
Scott Pressler hasn't burned out. He knocks on doors and collects signatures. That's what he does.
Yeah. And look, the other thing that people are going to have to at some point get over is that sometimes you take an L and that doesn't mean he sucks at everything, right? And I know that well, but we can't, the world's about to end, so if we take another L, then it's over. Like, well, okay. I've only been hearing that for the past 50 losses, so maybe we're not actually there yet. And by the way, if we are, then it's time to start shooting in the streets anyway. So who fucking cares?
um, about the whole, nothing ever happens. It's all fake. Yeah, and what I've learned, and it took me until, I don't know, maybe a lot, whenever it happened, like 2 months ago, was when I got the fundraiser thrown for Baz,
Yeah.
because Baz hunts pedophiles.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just like, there's a reason why it finally got to that point. It was because I was like, what am I realistically gonna do, like with this like I have fun with it, it's awesome, it's blah blah blah, it's funny, it's great friends and networking and blah blah blah. And there's little things you can do, you put people in touch, and but I was like, what is like the actual, like when it's all said and done, right? Because it doesn't matter how, let's say I have the luck of becoming great at this, right? It's, a little bit later on, you're remembered as, and just take any field, whatever, a fucking Tom Brady, what Red Hot Chili Peppers, I don't care, Blink 182. For a while, it's like, yeah, no, they're not in it anymore, but they're the greatest. And then as you go a little farther back, you're like, yeah, I don't really like them, but they were iconic. It's something like, I don't know, like the Beatles or something. But as you go further and further back, then it becomes at best like something in a museum. Where it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the guy that did the first, stunt devil thing in
Look,
the silent film in 1904. Like, you're like,
look,
oh,
man.
cool. But then,
I met Joe Montana once. Okay.
yeah,
Right. Now, here's the thing. I'm not a huge football fan. And, I wasn't particularly then. But at the time, if you have the opportunity to meet Joe Montana, you meet Joe
of
Montana.
course.
Right. Now, here's the thing. Half of your audience just went, man, that's badass. And the other half of your audience went, who?
Yeah. Who? But so, but so, or as Tim Dillon says, he goes, nothing matters. I can tell you this because he's like the greatest comics that ever lived. He's like George Carlin, Bill Hicks, and Richard Pryor. He's like, I went to a comedy club out in wherever, and they had three hot dogs, and they were named like the Kinnison, the Hicks, and the Pryor.
Yeah.
He goes, and those are the best comics that have ever lived, and they're just hot dogs now.
Yeah.
And even that is fading because they're not getting more popular. In time, that won't even be a thing. So then you go back farther. So it's like, okay, and that's just like the condition of the universe and entropy. Okay. But so I took like a lot of soul searching to be like, what is something like meaningful I can do? I'm like, all right, well, I've met some wealthy people through the podcast, and I've met some special forces guys that hunt and kill pedophiles.
Yeah.
That is something where it doesn't matter. Let's say I never told anyone I did that, and let's just say that's something to where someone's life did change, and it's the child who was rescued. That they're traumatized for life, and a lot of them commit suicide. It's horrible, but some don't.
Yeah.
And I go, that is the gold after you sift through all the fucking dirt. And I go, there's something. And you can, I look at it in a way as like, how am I going to stand before God? But even if you don't take it that point of view, you do got to look at like, what am I getting out of this? And that can be, well, what am I giving out of this? And so I think you have to lock on to that. And so that actually helps me get through so much of like the black pilling just mud of
Yeah.
like, because you're right. And you don't have to just do it with Tim Pool. Go to the front, or you can choose YouTube. Go to the front page of Rumble. I see it because every night when I set up my video game stream, you see the front page. It doesn't fucking matter. I can tell you what all those the Con Inc. fucking cocksuckers are. It replace the names and the dates, but it's always it's a you're not gonna believe what blank did today, and
Yeah.
the libs have gone crazy. They finally you can copy and paste all those and by simply changing the thumbnail. It's Minneapolis or it's Florida or it's fucking AOC. That thumbnail will be applicable 3 days from now. It'll be applicable 13 months from now. It was applicable 9.5 years ago. It's all
Yeah.
the same thing. It's just outrage about you're never going to believe what Trump just did, and the left is it's all the same horse shit, and that can be extremely demoralizing. And my advice would be even like the coming soon, like find something of value even if it's like I take the revenue from the podcast and I go bring a pair of socks to the homeless shelter once a month. If you
Right.
find that, no, but seriously, you have to find that little thing to hang your hat on to go, it's not all bullshit. Because then
Yeah.
it's something very real. Because I highly doubt, as Baz says, he's like, 300,000 kids go missing in a year. He's like, we rescue about 12. He's like, I'm
Yeah.
not naive into thinking I'm ever going to end this. Because,
Yeah,
but
man,
to
but
those
you
12
only
people,
12 changed 12
well,
lives forever.
he goes, but tell the 12, that's what he always says during, he's like, but tell the 12 kids that it didn't matter. They're like, what
Yeah.
are you talking about? I was getting raped 10 times a day. And now I'm a free human.
Yeah.
So that's where I come back on it. So like, no, examine something like Tim Pool or just any of the, it's all happening today. And it'll make you want to blow your brains out. And what I would recommend is
Don't do that.
find something that you can do. The kid that got rescued by Baz, they don't care if the funding for that operation was put together because I had by a podcaster who had become so blackpilled that I had to take some nugget of my network, and they don't care where it came from. And that's where I look at it. It's like you can make it matter. You can do, and to us, who knows? Maybe Tim Pool's fucking donating to. If I find out
I
Tim
think
Pool's
Don
giving
used to have a saying for this. What was it? Do something,
do
do
something, anything.
anything.
If it turns out Tim Pool is writing a check for like $1,000 a month to Baz, I would be
But
like, hey, you keep going, brother.
look, I am certain, right? And I say this as a guy who ran a podcast for a long time and doesn't anymore, that Tim has found something resembling meaning, as have all of these guys who were 10 years
Sure.
ago, right? And whatever it is that they think that is, that's why they're doing it, right? Um, is there somebody somewhere who's only doing this for the money? Yeah, Ben Shapiro exists.
Yeah.
But for everybody else, something resembling meaning is out there. Um, and if you can't find it, you end up, sitting here like this, talking about how you used to run a podcast. And so, yeah, by all means. And by the way, in the world of, if you want to find out people to support again. Go find people who are doing things that you support. And here's the thing. There are some of them, some scant few who are multi-millionaires and are doing this quietly, and you'll never hear about it. But for everybody else, the way that they raise that money is they go, hey, look, I run this show and we're doing this thing in the hopes of helping this thing. And here's the best part. Everyone's going to call them grifters for it. Most of the people who are doing that aren't collecting any money off of whatever they're doing. They're doing it for free because there's no money to collect, right? Hey, here's the foundation's, donation page, and the foundation does X. And I know, but 80% of donations to, fine. Okay, go find your podcaster who's cynical enough to look into precisely where every dollar gets spent to find out whether or not this is the right thing to support. Go ahead. All right. Sort how you will. Find the meaning anyway. And this is not long ago. I met a guy who, at some point while we were talking, after it came up that I used to run a politics podcast, was like, I thought one day I used to pay a lot of attention to politics, and I thought, how does this affect me personally? Which, if you are in political internet discussion, is a literal meme for a reason. And the thing is, this tells me more about you, if you're that person, than most things, which is to say that you were addicted to the rage bait, right? You were addicted to, what is a woman documentaries or whatever. And by the way, wiener or not, whatever you think of him, I have a soft spot for the Matt Walshes of the world because he's tied up, but he sort of is trying. And so, if that's all you're paying attention to, yeah, you're angry and demoralized. And by the way, to commentary that matter, that used to matter anyway, a whole lot of the point of all of this is demoralization. It's pretty hard to conquer the United States if everybody loves the country, is perfectly willing to tar and feather politicians, and is armed to the teeth. You can't deal with that group of people. There's just nothing to be done. But if everybody's sitting at home and it's like, well, it's all fake and gay anyway. Oh, but my uniparty. Oh, but any number of lists of stupid political memes. And so we don't do anything because doing things is fake and gay. Then, yeah, you're already conquered. It's just a matter of time until someone shows up and actually goes, you know what? I think we're going to formalize it now.
And what's the next level that we go from finding literally anything to do to fix this? How does this affect me? Nothing ever happens problems. Well, the next level of that is you are who you surround yourself with. And if you surround yourself with a bunch of burnouts who are sitting around just going, well, I guess I can't do anything, you're going to have a hard time getting out of that pit. The moment you start doing literally anything and you start, that kind of energy attracts other people like that, and you start building that form of community, that's where you get the energy to go farther. And I know this is probably the best group to bring that up with, because, look at all the people we've met and talked to over the years. It's like, I find it very hard to talk to a normie. Like, I can't do it anymore. I go nonverbal autist and just start staring at them like they're an alien species. Because just, after 6 years of, after COVID, the amount of people I've seen do extraordinary things is insane. That it's almost unthinkable of me, in my head, to be that demoralized. And yet, here these people still are. They sit around and they're like, well, nothing ever happens. And it's like, well, maybe you need to look around at who's around you, who's reinforcing that. And you need to get the fuck away from those people. You need to find somebody else that maybe find someone else that's already doing something. Follow that guy for a while until you figure it out. Maybe you're not a leader. Maybe you need to follow for a little while, but you'll figure it out if you start doing literally anything.
Well, that goes to another problem is that, but if I do this thing, it might fail. Yes. Good talk. All right. There are no people. Tommy's over there fucking dying right now.
Dude, there are fucking so many, and I never name anyone, but there's so many people I know who have started podcasts, and I've followed up with them. I'm like, hey, I got you a guest that I think you might be able to help, and they've quit. I'm like, what happened? And it's not like, oh, well, the wife had a kid we weren't expecting. So I'm like, all right, yeah, sure, no. These are guys that like nothing in their life. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding when I say they're 30 days in, and dude, I'm not kidding. They go, "There's no fucking audience. I'm getting throttled." And I'm like, "You're not big enough to get throttled."
Right.
What do you
Like,
that? I just so that's kind of one of the reasons I keep going is just out of like hatred for that. It really is.
So, that's such Irish right there. That's an
it
Irish.
is. So, dear everybody who thinks you're getting throttled, the algorithm didn't know who I was until I had 1,000 subscribers. That's just true.
Yeah.
Okay. Like it doesn't give a damn about you. It doesn't care. You know, somewhere around there, I had some video do pretty well, right? And I ended up with, I went from 1,000 to 2,000 in like a week,
Yeah.
right? But prior to that was 6 months of I'm showing up on every podcast that I possibly can. I'm working like 100 hours a week, just in hanging out with people and talking and nonsense and like it's I know everybody wants to act and I'm just going to pick one again, right? But this is basically every podcast except Joe Rogan. Um, Sean Ryan came out of nowhere. He just showed up and put out one video and then he had 1 million subscribers. Like 6 years before any of you heard that name, a friend of mine texted me a Sean Ryan podcast and was like, "Hey man, so like there's this SEAL who's doing some tactical shit and like you should check him out." And I was like, "All right, I guess." And so I started watching it and it was like, "Look, man, I'm not opposed to tactical shit, okay? But I'd rather do like much like football. I'd rather do tactical shit than watch tactical shit. So, and forgive me here, he's not saying anything that's exciting. Like
Sure.
this is not things I've never heard. It's all, pretty buck standard. Hey, go shoot, go get better at shooting. This is how you do it. And Ryan did that shit for years before he started the interview show. And he had, I don't know, 100,000 subscribers, give or take. Um, Navy SEAL doing tactical shit will get you 100 grand.
How
Doesn't
many
matter how good you
channels
are.
did Quartering try to build up before one took off? Because he did like everything under the sun to try and make
Yeah.
one. I think he's doing drones. Yeah. Like a lot
Oh
of people
man.
just spitballed everything until
Yeah.
something stuck.
And so here's the problem with this, right? Is so many of you hear about somebody when Nick Shirley is probably the most recent example. Well, he just showed up and did this one thing, so he's a CIA plant. Nick Shirley has been making content about news and politics things for like 2 years or something like that. He went down to CCOT before like anybody
Mhm.
else. And but you only heard about him when the fraud thing happened. And so this sets the expectations in the minds of people who are like little content creators that like, oh, I'm just going to put out like one video
Yeah,
and
you
then
gotta
I'm going
have
to have a
one.
1 million subscribers. And it doesn't work that way. Okay.
Yeah.
It's never worked that way.
No, it doesn't. And that's the other thing is like there are 1,000% into not even intelligence plants, but those exist, but also just like industry plants. You can always tell
Yeah.
very easily. Go watch them. Is there an intrinsic talent? Is there a magnetic thing? No? Well, then it's some sort of nepotism.
Yeah. But
It's
they
it's pretty
somehow or
self-evident.
another, yeah, they somehow or another have guests that are from a very specific part of some industry. And those guests don't talk to very many other people, right?
Or you can go find someone and you go, they came, or whether or not they came out of nowhere overnight. But if you start listening to them and they're just magnetic, you're like, maybe homies just got it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
pretty,
how many of them started as a producer on some other media platform, were doing something behind the scenes, and they had all the contacts kind of ready to go before they got in front of the camera? Like, I mean,
absolutely.
look at how Savannah Hernandez blew up when she left InfoWars.
Yeah.
She started out as like the shy girl with the clipboard behind the scenes and everything, and next thing you know, she's kind of spiraled into her own thing.
Yeah. And this is, that is the other thing that happens, right? Is yeah, AJ from the Y Files was in TV for like 20 years before the Y Files started. And he ran that channel for 18 months or something like that before he had a video that went even vaguely viral, right? It turns out the crossover is not 100%, but having decent production value helps. And boy, if there's anything I hate, it's that.
You know, I'll never do production value. I don't fucking care.
Nor
Um,
should you.
no, I will not. Lie, then we got to wrap it because I have another show I gotta get to. But I was gonna say, lastly, and I think a huge part of it is even if you're not the best that there is, what I'm also kind of learning through this is simply the value of staying power. And that I
Oh yeah.
always used to have this idea of like it was a long race, but you had to outrace the others. And I think that there is some truth to that. But what I'm now realizing is like it's not that you gotta just be in the top 5% of the people in the marathon. What it really is it's a marathon entirely composed of people who've never run a marathon, yourself included. It doesn't matter if your time is 18 hours.
Yeah.
If everyone else dies or quits, you can come in the top 1%. I mean, for like amateur marathon runners, they still get like sub 4 hours, right?
Yeah.
You know, Olympics is better, but like if us three ran a marathon, I would probably die. Like if Don dies and Stoli finishes in 29 hours, it doesn't matter. He's
Still
the
won.
he's the winner. And I think, and that's kind of what started to change my view a little more after these years. I guess you see the people that quit immediately, but I also know people who have quit like, 1 year in or 5 years in. And I go, I think a lot of it is just stay alive, keep your head above water. Because you could look at someone like Tim Pool and be like, well, how come he's there? He doesn't do, it's like, well, he just kind of stayed above water. I think there's a lot of,
What's the most important part about boxing or fighting? Breathing.
Yeah.
yeah.
Remembering to breathe. How many people they clinch up, they stop breathing, then their heart rate goes up, and then they're spending the rest of their time before they gas out trying to catch back up.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's really simple. It's just breathing.
Yeah. So that's kind of like another thing I'm looking at is like you just don't quit. And I know it's like the cheesy, it's like don't quit, but I mean really, just don't quit. I don't think it really matters what the time is. If everyone else dies on the marathon, you
And
can
Yeah.
remember to breathe. Don't quit. Remember to breathe. I used to think that my instructors were crazy for telling me you're not breathing right. You need to remember how to breathe. I'm trying to do push-ups. Someone's kicking me, telling me I'm not breathing right. But you know what? Eventually you figure out what they're talking about.
yeah. So yeah, that's what I would say is keep and I think back to the like the Baz thing is find some nugget of something that makes you not black pilled because it will then allow you to wade through the black pilling horse shit and still keep like a nugget of hope somewhere. So
Yeah.
and then if all else fails, just you always got the fallback. You always got the fallback. You always got the tried and true, the steady hand, and that's just blame the juice. And then you'll always have an audience. You'll always have an somewhere. Just blame the Jews.
As an
Um,
Irish Israelite, I can't do that for personal reasons, and I live in Florida. I think we have anti-Semitism laws, so I'm going to have to report you to my local FDLE guy, and we'll get back to this.
but see,
Perfect.
and that's the ecosystem of like, and then if you don't want to blame the Jews, your whole thing can be attacking the guys that blame the Jews. It's a beautiful ecosystem of just bottom feeders. There's
Yes.
uh, there's always there's always a job to fall back on. Um, but yeah, we'll wrap this shit up. Don is going to restart his show. I don't know when or how, but he will. If you guys continue to bully him, he might.
Even if it's just like a
Bully
million dollar
accordingly.
extreme Sam Hyde bit
Yeah, who
that
cares,
never
dude?
really.
Who cares, dude? Start something, Don. Don't be gay.
No promises. I might be gay.
Yeah,
Uh,
fair enough. If Trump executes Don Lemon, he'll be the best ever.
yes. I will restart the show for one episode, and it will just be me saying the word yes.
I have made one promise. I will enlist in the U.S. military if Trump kidnaps Keir Starmer. I will quit the show and I will enlist. I don't care where or how. If we get a picture of Keir Starmer and that sensory deprivation shit, and he's like Keir Starmer's on the USS Iwo Jima tonight, I will join. Um, Gentlemen, I gotta run. I got another show. I'll send this to you guys when it's up. It'll be up later. Thank you both for your. I don't know why I'm doing the formal thing. Thank you both for your time. Fuck both of you. I can talk to you guys like
Yeah, fuck everybody
yeah.
here,
Fuck
man.
all you
Take care,
faggots. All
fellas.
right.
Yeah.
Hey guys, real quick, you guys know Basil Baz, ARC, the Association for the Recovery of Children. I just did a fundraiser with them the other day, and I'm going to put this on to every episode I do. They are special forces veterans who physically rescue trafficked children. They have since 1993. They have a 100% success rate. They do not take salaries. They all have day jobs, and they literally rescue sex trafficked children. Donations to them are a tax write-off. I get nothing from them, and they have not asked me to put this on. I've included this little clip on episodes for the last year or so, and I'm just re-recording it because I just got to meet him just 2 days ago for future. It's November 25th, 2025, but this will be on every episode now for the next year. And there is nothing better you can do with your money. Um, if you can support them for even $5, please do that. It is, they truly are doing the Lord's work, and I think we all have an obligation to do that. Thank you so much.
Higher ultraviolet exposure is associated with lower mortality. The United Kingdom is a high latitude and low sunlight country. Researchers there collected data on over 360,000 participants in a study of UV exposure via solarium use. When compared with non-users, solarium users had 15% risk lowered of all-cause mortality, 23% lower risk of cardiovascular mortality, 14% lower risk of cancer mortality, and a 12% lower risk of non-cardiovascular, non-cancer mortality. In other words, all other causes. Quoting the researchers, our study adds to the growing evidence that the benefits of UV exposure outweigh the risks in low sunlight environments. A link to the original publication is available in the box below the video. Get some UV light this winter. Immerse yourself in the tranquility of the blue. Visit a blue room soon. www.blueroom.com.
Hey guys, a huge sponsor of the show is Heaven's Harvest Prepper Food. Clayton lives down in Georgia. He's been on the show before. It's actually nearby where I went to college. They are a huge sponsor of the show. They give me some money every month, even when I don't sell enough to warrant that paycheck. Meaning that the show is not free. It's just that it's free for you. If you guys need prepper food, or if you're just interested in supporting the show, I'd please ask you to go to the link in the description. Go to Heaven's Harvest Prepper Food, promo code TPC for 10% off. 72 servings per pail, 25-year shelf life. These things are, they double as dumbbells. Pasta Primavera, cheesy potato soup, mac and cheese, loaded baked potato casserole, chili mac, cheddar broccoli soup, cheesy lasagna, teriyaki rice. You can get banana chips. There's also raspberries, strawberries, and apples. There's a bunch of freeze-dried fruit, or you can even get seeds to plant your own garden. It's not a bad thing to have. It's like gold or ammunition. It's a good thing to have. It's a bad thing if you have to use it, but it's good. It's good to have it, not need it, than need it, not have it. So that's what I'd say. And if you just want to support the show, please go to the link in the description. Please go support them because they support me. Thank you so much, guys.